Okay. My name is Matt Reardon. I am the Oxford Outlaw. I've been following along with Riding with the Outlaw. There's been a lot of developments here lately. Just a few days ago, I was down in Olive Branch, down in DeSoto County. It has been a just ridiculous witch hunt that I've had to deal with. It definitely hasn't made it any easier not having the support of my own family members, which has been the case for a lot of my life. I'm fortunate times like now for my wife and her family, and for my kids. I've got 3 biological daughters, and I've got a 4th that is she's my wife's from another relationship, and both of I've got a 6-year-old from another relationship. She's got a 6-year-old from another relationship, and I remember saying that I don't want to have kids for a while, maybe not ever. And I certainly hope that if I have any, it's a boy, because I'll probably wind up either in prison or worse. Definitely probably branded with something for being overly protective. I know how guys think. Definitely appears that the good Lord had other plans for me. In fact, I wasn't able to have a boy. We've got 4 girls. One of which, Lydia, the 6-year-old, she's one of the big reasons for doing Riding with the Outlaw, because she has been used as a wedge of the court by her mother this entire time, tracking back 3 years. In fact, tracking back about as old as Lydia is. As soon as she got her child, that's when things started snowballing. And my wife and I have just tried to avoid her at all costs, have tried to just carry on with our lives, and it's been false accusations, just a continuous setup, and she had her hands big time in what happened to me back in 2017, 3 years ago. My daughter was used once again as a way to try to manipulate a favorite outcome. Not only did it help her mother, but it helped the city and the county as well. And so my wife and I had baby girl number 4. McKenna Rose was born on Christmas Day of 2019. I can only assume that due to jealousy, because that's what it was last time, of there being another sibling, she did not let me speak to my daughter for about 2 weeks straight. I wasn't able to reach out to her to let her, to tell her that she had a brand new baby sister. And another false accusation to Child Protective Services, which really, I think, the most unfair thing in all of this, whenever you have somebody that files false accusations, the most unfortunate downfall is the child's name getting thrown all throughout the system. This whole time, daughter stripped from me, used as a wedge, and her name is just plastered throughout Child Protective Services because of her mother's selfish, frivolous, false accusations. And so I went ahead, we wrapped up the court case for the false rape accusation that she put against me back at the end of November of 2018. And this was so see-through that the Olive Branch Police Department dismissed her allegations and in fact turned around and with additional evidence obtained filed charges against her. Olive Branch Police Department, unfortunately the laws in Mississippi, if somebody that accuses another of a crime, filing a false report is seen as a misdemeanor in the state of Mississippi. And I've got tremendous issue with that. Tremendous issue, because I don't think it's a deterrent. I think that the charge should be fitting of what it is the false accuser accuses someone else of. Because if they're falsely accusing somebody of a felonious crime such as rape, molestation, whatever, the chance that person could be arrested, could be charged, have to plead their case, prove their innocence. We all should know the dangers of being locked up with that type of accusation. It could be deadly. Somebody could spend just ridiculous amounts of time behind bars, even life behind bars, on something that they weren't able to. Our court systems are supposed to work where you're innocent until proven guilty. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot more of, you're immediately looked at as guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And I know that's been my case personally, a lot, especially around here. I know that with this false rape accusation, I had to surrender my own personal liberties with my cell phone. I allowed them to, and I limited the scope to just the stuff between her and I, because of course my wife and I have privileged conversations and just, the standard liberties, freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. Long story short, in order to actually deal a crushing blow to this, to put a stop to it, they needed to download my phone so that they could prove beyond all reasonable doubt that the text messages weren't doctored, weren't spoofed, and that they actually, that the conversations that she had sent in furtherance of her plan to try to frame me for rape, that they were indeed from her. Later on, I found out that her new husband played a significant part in this. She admitted that he was a co-conspirator in this. Had a lot of influence on her decision right there. And it's literally been a nightmare. So I've got a new filing for Chancery Court. It's the title of this live stream. I want to go ahead and I want to play this, and I'll come back. Let me know what you think about this. I still have some more work to do on it. I'm going to add some more stuff. I was on a roll earlier. I wanted to really point out some things, factual things, and address them in the way that I knew best. Enjoy. Okay, I wanted to read off the petition I'm filing at Chancery Court tomorrow. Wanted to get it filed today, ran out of time, and the details would not stop flowing. This problem needs to be nipped in the bud. So in the Chancery Court of Lafayette County, Mississippi, Matthew Oliver Reardon versus Phyllis Marie Crowder Kester, emergency petition for citation of contempt and modification of child custody and child support agreement and other relief. Comes now the petitioner, Matthew Oliver Reardon, files his emergency complaint of contempt and petition for modification of custody against the defendant, Phyllis Crowder Kester. In support thereof, your petitioner would respectfully show unto the court the following. This court has personal and subject matter jurisdiction in the matter. 2. That the defendant, Phyllis Crowder Kester, is an adult resident citizen of Lafayette County, may be served with process at her residence in Lafayette County, Mississippi, or wherever she may be found. That on August, this court entered an agreed order of modification regarding child visitation, a true and correct copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit A. that the defendant abruptly ceased communication between the plaintiff and his child for approximately 2 weeks, beginning on Christmas Day of 2019 when plaintiff's third child was born at the Tupelo Women's Hospital, breaching the agreement established by this court through intentionally preventing communication between the plaintiff and his minor child. It is of the plaintiff's impression that the defendant's jealousy of a new sibling being born was the willful cause of this contumacious action due to the defendant demonstrating the same harmful choices and malicious behavior in May of 2018 after the plaintiff's second child was born on April 30th. The plaintiff would further show that the conduct of the defendant as well as the defendant's attorneys have far surpassed self-assuming the role of judge, jury, and executioner, and that the malicious, frivolous, and false claims that have been asserted by the defendant and her attorney have met and exceeded the threshold required for slander, defamation of character, abuse of process, and malicious prosecution. The plaintiff would demonstrate to this court that by admission on a recorded phone call on this date, the defendant admitted to conspiring with her present husband in an obnoxious attempt to falsely accuse the plaintiff of raping her on November 28, 2018. As a result of her criminal actions, Olive Branch Police Department filed a misdemeanor charge and sought a warrant for her arrest in or around January of 2019 for making a false police report. As such, it's the intention of the petitioner to bring separate tort causes of action, seeking remedies to the damages inflicted in the appropriate courts for relief from such actions. Evidence of defendant admitting to such conspiracy with her husband is attached here to as Exhibit B. As if this wasn't obnoxious enough, and all the legal showboating by the defendant and her attorneys at the intentional compromise of a loving and caring father whom has demonstrated the highest echelon of civility and restraint with defendant, despite the sacred bond between father and daughter severed over and over again at the hands of one that clearly demonstrated a lack of moral turpitude, empathy, and a complete disregard for others, including the minor child. The proverbial last straw came August 26, 2020, when the defendant filed yet again another petition to modify the custody order entered by this court. Said filing not only was a frivolous filing, but one that made no sense whatsoever. The plaintiff would show into this court that through multiple recorded phone calls with Department of Child Services, the plaintiff was advised that complaint, as well as all complaints for that matter, were dismissed as unfounded. And the defendant was and is well aware of that, to include Crowder's most recent attorney, Christy McCoy, who chose to further attack the character of the petitioner, a United States Marine Corps veteran, in a completely vile attempt to defend against the charge levied by Olive Branch Police Department after her client aberrant, reputable, and downright disgusting false allegation of rape placed on the father of her child. With the attached evidence, petitioner would move this honorable court for a trial at its earliest available time. Petitioner would also move this court to consider the bizarre occurrences that have occurred and to grant petitioner an emergency trial on the said facts and additional evidence the petitioner is prepared to present before this court. Would assert that if the court is backed up and unable to grant an emergency hearing to grant the transfer possession of the minor child over to the petitioner, especially in light of the petitioner being denied rights to his child as set forth in the visitation agreement. Okay, so I didn't hold back. I think that's probably one of the most aggressive court filings that I've done. And honestly, I think it cut straight to the point. And I think it cut sharp as a knife on what's said, what's addressed in it. I still have what happened a year before. Her false and frivolous accusation of rape, and for her attorney on crosstalk when they pled out no low with the intention from the beginning to appeal it to county court. It should have been there anyway. It shouldn't have been at municipal court anyways. It should have been at circuit court. It really took a low blow twist when her attorney, Christy McCoy, up there in front of the judge's bench, okay? And when she started badgering me and attacking my character, a Marine Corps veteran that is seeking vindication, should have never been framed for the crime that he was accused of 3 years ago. All in all, that makes at least 3, 4, 5 crimes that I was accused of over a period of 3 years. This is it's completely clear to, there's many that are drinking the Kool-Aid. They're trying to take an unfair piggyback. And it's funny that, it's not funny, but go figure. What do you think the political affiliation of all these people are? Because this is something that you do not see from conservatives, from Republicans. I mean, granted, I know that there's a few bad apples in every bunch, but look at what all is going on in society. Everything that I've witnessed over the past decade has pointed just straight up pointed fingers directly at. There's like no really arguing this fact that the Democrat Party is the party of crime. So much just, it's like it's the only way that these people can win is through a cheap shot to try to destroy the character of another, falsely accuse another. Look at when Judge Kavanaugh was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Trump, and the false allegations that were made against him, the false rape allegations, sexual, assault, and those people were, it was nothing but a bunch of blown up lies. And the problem, the real true problem, is it destroying the credibility of real victims. And that's the true, get to the nuts and bolts of everything. It truly hurts the real victims. I want to, during this whole process, I can't tell you how badly I wanted to introduce as evidence into the court the children's book of the little boy who cried wolf. Because so many need to be reminded of that story. So many need to be reminded of what goes around comes around. And as I've said all along, the big thing, when you look at everything that I'm doing with writing with the Outlaw, I decided that whenever on my quest for vindication to produce even more evidence than what I had of my complete innocence in the matter, that, here you have somebody that 10 years prior wrote a blank check to the government for an amount up to their life and went where they were told to go. Could have offered their life, could have easily, anything could have happened. Could have been sent overseas. I wasn't. It could have. And if our government can turn its back on one of its own, somebody that pledges themselves to the defense and safety of our country. And if things have gotten that far skewed off track, where things are so dramatically just politically split and down partisan lines, the courts, Lafayette County, one of the biggest politically wedged legal systems. And to be quite honest with you, that's the only reason why, I said from the beginning, especially when ridiculous amounts of corruption started surfacing, started finding more and more evidence, I knew that the only way to truly keep me safe at the end of the day was to publish the evidence of my innocence and the fraud that had been committed in order to make me go away, make the problem go away, make the legal issues go away. May 1st, 2017, arrested, standing in front of the Confederate statue holding the state flag of Mississippi. And, that was an ongoing legal issue. They were able to coerce a favored outcome to get me to plea out to something that there was no possible way that I could have done. They said on or before May 8th, I put the Lynches in fear of their life with an AR-15, and it's impossible because I didn't purchase it until May 20th, have a bill of sale. They have flip-flopped back and forth on their stories. May 24th phone call comes in, which is what stems the warrant. They said that I was making threats on my Facebook page, but there are no threats. And I asked for the call, for details around it, who's behind the call, who was on it, and they closed it up confidential. I went to the U.S. Attorney, the FBI. I followed the guidance of an assistant U.S. attorney named Bob Norman. I call him Blowhard Bob. And Blowhard Bob, I ran into him a couple of weeks ago. Haven't seen him at work since. Nor can I hardly find anybody at the U.S. Attorney's office here in Oxford that's there past 4 o'clock. But I've been trying to get a sit-down meeting with Bob because I put my faith in him when I sat down with the FBI on May 25th, 2017, because I had a death threat on me at the time. And I met with the FBI. I have requested the 302 or any report that they may have. Okay? Should be a 302. There was a second agent that was there in the conference room of the local branch in Oxford. And I want this report to corroborate the things that I've said, to show that I'm not fabricating any of this. The 302 is gone, no report. They can't find a report. They're not even responding to the FOIA request. So that's a legal obstacle to come. Fayette County Sheriff's Department, they won't produce the information on the May 24th phone call. That's crucial. And I've still got a few more public records requests to send in to them. And then I go to the U.S. Attorney's office and I see Blowhard Bob outside of the U.S. Attorney's office, and I give him the letter to give to the U.S. Attorney of the Northern District, William Lamar. It was a well-crafted out letter. I wanted answers. It was common sense questions that I think that any of us would have troubling concerns about and would want the answers to. I also gave Blowhard Bob a DVD to give to him, and it was stated in the letter that, that I was including the DVD. It also said in there that I was looking for an answer that that by the next week, that whether or not I got a response from this U.S. attorney, that I was going to be forwarding that letter to Washington, D.C., to the Department of Justice, made to the attention of Attorney General William Barr, because it needed to go on file. These people need to be held responsible, held accountable for their actions or their lack of actions in this case, and protecting the public. And when I reminded Bob that they had a fiduciary obligation to protect the public, to answer the call for help, especially when it was pointed out that there was alleged public corruption, and their office certainly had a duty to investigate said crimes and certainly to prosecute them if there was evidence of it existing. And not returning a call over 2 months' time, after multiple calls by me up there to the U.S. Attorney's Office, multiple voicemail messages left, well, it's uncalled for. Uncalled for. And Bob said, our office has an obligation to the public to protect the public from criminals like yourself, even though Bob knew that, with all the proof that I've surfaced, and with me putting my faith in him, following his guidance to go and sit down with the FBI May 25th, 2017, about the death threat, among 2 other things. Injunction taken out on me, stopping me from speaking at City Hall the day of the election of the incoming Democrat Socialist mayor. I still have yet to even get a response out of her. But she can respond to Frederick Nettles when he gives a incorrect account of a traffic stop that happened in Oxford. She's fine to put her 2 cents in there, but let it be something with true evidence that was especially involving her, or her as a beneficiary. The very bare minimum, she is a beneficiary of everything. And these attorneys, these crooked attorneys, they won't stop. So it's got to be dealt with seriously. I haven't had any help, any backing, besides a few of y'all out there sharing my content. And I'm blown away. Because if the government can turn its back on one of its own, on a Marine Corps veteran that pledged his life to the service of our country 10 years prior, what do you think that means for you, or anybody else for that matter? So I'm kicking off something that a bit of a big hit. Coming from the transportation industry, helping to start up at least what was a successful transportation collection company until they let greed get in the way. So many sharks. The wrong kind of sharks. There's sharks out there that help people, and here lately, all I've seen are the sharks that steal the opportunities away. There's a whole lot of what ifs surrounding the opportunities that were stolen away. But think back to what I said about ultimately the fight and riding with the outlaw. It may seem a lot like the hare, but if you really get to peel back the skin, it's really quite turtlesque. When these criminals decided to hit low, I started putting piece by piece in place, hanging back, observing, until it was time for me to get up close and personal. And it's not just so much about getting a win in the courtroom. At this stage, as far as it's gone, had it have been, just one cheap attack, it wouldn't be this way. Had the county and the city in the local government and the state government, and even starting to see the danglings of the federal government. It's not just about a win, a victory in the courtroom. At this point, as much disgusting involvement as there's been and where society has gone, I'm hitting back hard to send a clear message that there are things that you don't do, period. And this right here, you're damn right it's one of them. And if I have to file everything on my own, fight my own battles, no attorney wants to come forward and help, I'm still going to be doing the same thing. Because the only person that's more dangerous than one with unlimited resources like our corrupt government is a man that's got nothing to lose. Because he's been just chiseled down to nothing. Had every one of his rights supposed to be bestowed upon by God, taken by corrupt man.